Hello everyone, and thanks so much for all the support with my videos. I'm very grateful for the likes, shares, comments on my videos, and thank you to everybody who supports me through buying me a coffee. I'm very grateful for all the support. Links to that platform will be in the comments at the end of this video. Today I want to speak about the big meeting that was held in Paris yesterday with Emmanuel Macron, the self-proclaimed king, ruler of Europe, held big meeting with 20 European leaders and about building more support for Ukraine and not ruling out the sending of troops on the ground in Ukraine, as we see a move towards a bigger confrontation and a wider escalation of this conflict on European territory. Varadkar also attended, and again he parroted the same narrative that's been pushed by the Western propagandists to say that we will support Ukraine as long as it takes, as long as it's necessary, or whatever their latest push has been for more war in this region. We've also seen Micheál Martin speak about that a number of days ago, where he said Ireland will not waver in support of Ukraine. And we see this huge social and economic costs to these claims by Micheál Martin and Varadkar yesterday when he was in Paris. And this comes at the same time when the investigation into the Nord Stream by a second country, Denmark, has been stopped. This comes in the back of Sweden, who've also said they've stopped their investigation into the mysterious explosion of the Nord Stream over a year and a half ago. We all know fully who's behind that as well. And they claim they didn't have jurisdiction. And coincidentally, Sweden are now approaching the final push to enter NATO after Hungary have just agreed to Sweden's accession to NATO. Now it's interesting as well in the context of the Nord Stream explosion that the biggest terrorist attack and environmental carnage that was created by those explosions haven't been investigated properly. And we know about previous reports from investigative journalists like Seymour Hersh have been ruled out of hand by the collective West media, who don't want to report on this as well, and to keep hoodwinking the public here in Ireland and across Europe. And also they've also spoken about the push for the rules-based order. But again, they won't speak about the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee hearing a couple of years ago to say that if the invasion was to take place, that the Nord Stream would not go ahead. And Victoria Nuland herself, who's Deputy Secretary of State or Assistant to Anthony Blinken in the US Secretary or State Department, has also said that it would have been suspended. So hence we have the mysterious explosion and a huge erosion of the cheap gas that was coming from Russia that's led to an economic implosion in Europe and here in Ireland too. So it's directly correlated to what's going on. And this comes at the back of Zelensky in the last couple of days. They said it was 31,000 armed forces Ukrainian soldiers killed. This flies in the face of even what von der Leyen said about well over a year ago that 100,000 were killed. And even according to conservative reports from new American propagandists such as the New York Post and Washington Times, who have claims about up to 80,000 armed forces Ukrainian soldiers have been killed. So again, Zelensky under serious pressure domestically. He again is pushing this narrative again. He's under pressure from Zelensky, Klitschko, Poroshenko, many more others as well domestically in Ukraine as well. And he attended this meeting virtually. Now this is a big push again for talking about sending troops to Ukraine, and why Ireland's involvement is important because they're trying to erode Irish neutrality further and further. So it is beyond the debt by 1,000 cuts. It's becoming a debt by 100 cuts currently. Macron spoke and said the defeat of the Russian Federation is indispensable to the security and stability in Europe. Here we go again. And again, they said there was no consensus yet about sending troops to Ukraine. So here we go. The economies are being in tatters. society here in Ireland is in turmoil because of the immigration chaos created by the support of this proxy war, where Ireland should be standing up for Pacific settlements, international dispute, which is enshrined in the Irish Constitution. But no, the Irish political leaders are worried about bowing down to their European masters. And as well, there's a big push with the Czech Republic, who have a big initiative going to buy hundreds of rounds or millions of rounds of ammunition that intends to move to this wartime economy, because there was intentions to have up to 1 million rounds of artillery shells to be sent there by March. And obviously those targets can't be hit because of the depletion of the current supplies in that region. Meanwhile, domestically, we're falling into the deeper turmoil in Irish society because of what's been going on. We see the push with the Irish Security and Defence Association, a company that I highlighted a number of months ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, did a video on it about their deals with the Czech Republic, had a big meeting at the Czech embassy about trying to procure more weapons. There are people, many multinationals are involved in this company, but again, it's very cloak and dagger stuff going on with this as well. But again, it's part of the agenda to increase so-called defence spending for the military-industrial complex to profit. So they increase their GDP spending up to 2% of GDP, which is what NATO are demanding of European countries. And Ireland currently spends about 0.2 to 0.3% of our GDP on so-called, inverted commas, defence. We all know it's weapons of war. Now, the impacts of this war are having catastrophic impacts, as I said, in Irish society. We see the issues coming on with the attack on Irish neutrality, which is important, because I've spoken in many videos about the attack on the triple lock. This was part of the conditional agreements through the Nice referendum, where for Ireland to be sending over 12 troops, they would need a Security Council resolution followed by government and Dáil approval before they can send 12 troops on overseas missions. But again, they're looking now to erode this triple lock. That was part of this sham forum that was held last year in Ireland about further eroding our neutrality. And also we've seen the incursion of NATO warships into Irish ports in recent times. And yesterday, Rob Bauer, the head commander of NATO, actually was in Dublin. And he was feted by the Defence Forces Chief of Staff Sean Clancy at McKee Barracks here in Dublin. And there's no place for warmongers to be in here in Ireland, Dublin, anywhere as a neutral country. But again, we've seen more NATO commanders coming to many more missions and working with Irish soldiers in places like Kilworth Barracks and many more places again, which is more normalisation and drive towards NATO, as we tie into what Macron has said about getting troops on the ground. So watch out as the push for conscription is going to come, and that's what they're going to push towards as well. And also the European Peace Facility is important, because over €122 million has been given from Ireland to pay for food, fuel, protective equipment and medical equipment, and not to mention lethal support, javelins and demining equipment. So also they've been training Armed Forces Ukraine soldiers in Poland on demining, weapons training, again, which is a clear breach of Irish neutrality, and not to mention the 90 million that's been sent across in stability and humanitarian support, and also the huge budget that's going across from the European Union, up to €50 billion, that we're going to have to pay more for into this to retain the same disastrous level of public services in Ireland. And we also have the huge immigration disaster created, where over 104,870 Ukrainians are in Ireland. 74,000 are in state-supported accommodation. 1 in 5 that have come over are working in low-pay work. So again, it's a ruse used under the auspices of democracy and freedom to get low-wage economy in. And this is what the establishment are standing up for when people have genuine concerns about the immigration disaster. And obviously working-class people are the ones feeling the pinch most of all because of this disastrous policy. Not to mention the tourism industry, 1/3 of beds are gone, which costs about €1 billion to local businesses, not to mention that the add-on knock-on businesses and people who rely on that for their livelihoods all around the country. And the economic output as well is a big issue, because it contracted in the European Union by 1.9% last year, and even the growth in Ireland has been reviewed from less than 3% to 1.2% for the coming year. So we see the implosion here in Irish society on what's going on. GDP down is nearly in half the European countries, and we see the European Central Bank rate increases and inflation and fuel prices that are impacting people most of all as well, because of the fallout of getting the dearer gas from other countries, namely the United States. And we've also seen the impacts on homelessness in Ireland as well, where we've seen plenty of money being given across to people who are profiting from the immigration industry, and yet not enough money given to people who are suffering in terms of homelessness. And over the last number of days was a dreadful news came from Dublin that a woman that I knew passed away on the streets of Dublin, which was absolutely barbaric. And it shows you there is no proper policies in place to offer supports for people, but yet there's plenty of money for war, plenty of money for weapons, and plenty of money for the immigration industry as well. When you consider here in Ireland, yesterday Bank of Ireland announced record profits, 1.9 billion euro in profits last year. And then if you consider that 40% of people now today have said that they're deciding to cut back on meals so their children can eat, according to Bernardo's in Ireland today. So there we have a huge divide, and who's impacted by this. In Irish society we have 2 billionaires that have the same wealth as 50% of the population. 1% of the population has 35.4% of the wealth. This is who the party politicians represent. They profit all their friends, they profit the people through the military-industrial complex, and they're trying to drive Ireland into NATO further and further towards a confrontation with Russia. It must be the man's clear demand peace, because this can't go on. These fanatics in Irish society are driving us, and the media too, are driving Ireland towards a confrontation, towards war, where people are going to lose their lives, and not to mention the impacts, the economic and social fallout we've seen domestically here in Ireland because of this. So it's vitally important that the international impacts are having huge impacts on our daily lives here in Dublin and across Ireland, and it has to be shared far and wide. So please share my videos far and wide, I really appreciate it. And also thanks for liking my posts. Please share them, please comment, please press subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please follow me on Facebook and other platforms as well. And thanks to people who do support me on buying me a coffee, I'm very grateful. But it is very important to get these videos out to reach more and more people in Dublin, in Ireland, and across other parts of the world, the people that follow me as well, to get the real news out to what's happening domestically here in Ireland, as we have sellout politicians who are more interested in selling our sovereignty out than standing up for the interests of ordinary people, locally, nationally and internationally as well. So from Dublin, thanks for all the support, and take care. Slán. See you all soon. Bye bye.